somebody was running a 600 people organization making about $12 million. I put out a piece of content one day and Tanmay Bhatt reached out to me out of the blue.
Life as not just a career. It's like company 1, company 2, company 3. But it's projects that are snowballing into bigger projects and then attracting more people. And then, where does it go?
Actually fail more times. I mean, the more you fail, the more it sets you up for success.
And by the way, did you go to IIT, IIM Ahmedabad, any of the brand names?
None. I'm not from a premier institute. I did my engineering from the University of Pune.
Okay.
And yeah, I was a decently good student.
So, question for you is, did you know after college that this is what I want to do in life? Like, yeah, you graduate from college and you're like, absolutely have certainty this is what I want to do in life.
No, zero. I'll actually tell a little about my story. So
Please.
I finished my computer engineering. I got a job in my campus interviews, which was rare at that point because there was a recession going on. This is like 2008, 2009, and I got a job in my campus interviews as a programmer. But I always felt that I'm not that DNA. I don't think I can sit in front of a computer all day long and write lines of code. So I joined a hardware company, Dell Technologies. I thought hardware is really cool. I thought I'll repair computers and that will give me happiness. But in 6-7 months, I realized that is actually not my source of happiness. And then I got into Google, which was again like software. I think an important part of your journey in the next 20, 30 years is to believe that once you open a door, the next door opens itself. I mean, I never knew that I'll be here or even, trying to motivate some of you to do great things in life, but you just have to take every day, as it comes, make every day count. Like wake up in the morning, write down 3 things that you want to do today and just put everything to it without thinking what's going to happen tomorrow. I think that's like a great start first, committing to things.
But question for you, when you switched careers, right, multiple times in your career, डर नहीं लगा?
हाँ यार, फटती तो बहुत है, आज भी फटती है, right?
Even now?
हाँ, like I remember the day I joined Wix, right? Amazon, I think, fired 10,000 employees. That same week, Wix laid off like 200 people. Shopify had laid off like 20% of their workforce. A lot of layoffs going on in 2022 when I joined this job. And I was like, what, they're going to just give me an offer letter and probably ask me to just leave the company in a few months. It's very unpredictable, but you need to sort of have the confidence in yourself that even if you fall, you can pick yourself up and figure out the next thing.
And I think this is one of those things that comes via repetition, which is the first time you fall the hardest. And the second time you're like, okay, wait, why am I on the floor? I can get up. And then by the 5th and 4th time, you're like, okay, I mean, that's just life.
So Vargab, you tell me, when you went to Ahmedabad, you met all these design agency owners, right? They're running their entire design agency. How many employees did they have?
So the smallest company that I met was a 3-people company, and they were making $1 million a year. Design, website development, that was their bread and butter. They design great websites on Wix. Yeah, they charge like $5,000, $10,000 from clients across the globe. Like if there are so many people who are actually interested to have their own design agency, know that sometimes you see that you're trying to sell to an Indian client and the client won't even give you 20,000 rupees to make like a creative or a website, right? But don't limit yourselves to like just India. Like have a portfolio on Behance or Dribbble or Contra or Upwork or freelancer.com and start selling your services to people in the US, UK, Australia. Somebody in the US would probably be paying $10,000-$20,000 for a website. If you charge them $5,000 and you do a better job, like you have that client for life. And then the word of mouth starts kicking in. I've got a friend here, who's come with me, and he just his word of mouth itself, gets him projects of close to $1 million. There's plenty of friends of mine who run agencies and do phenomenal work, and not just like website design, even product design. Like Abhinav, the number of people I've seen who, left Shopify or left Wix and went on to design, products of their own and have, probably sold companies. I know someone in Bangalore, who sold their company to a French firm for $22 million. He's just 30 years old. And I've got plenty of such stories, happening in my circle of friends where they were passionate about something. They really put their heart to it and, made it count. if you've got like a great exit once early on in your career, not only it's a, do you get this financial security, but then you're free to do whatever you want. And isn't that, at least that's what I want. I want the freedom that comes with the money, right?
Taking it back to one of the things we were talking about earlier, which is you have these repetitions and you do these experiments. I think the thing you said about having one of these exits or some of these successes, right? Each one of these teaches you that what's the bigger game to be played here, right? So a common reference here, for example, our assignments, we call them simulators, right? So it's a design studio simulator, a startup simulator. In fact, today the experience you're all a part of is kind of Bangalore simulator, right? Becoming a startup founder. But I find the value of these experiences so high because every single one of these teaches you that, wait, at some point, it is a bit of a game that you play. It's just you have to understand the variables, you have to be smart about it, you have to make the right team members, the connections, and then suddenly your scope of possibilities expands with each project, right? So thinking of life as not just a career, it's like company one, company two, company three, but it's projects that are snowballing into bigger projects and then attracting more people, and then, where does it go? That's so fun.
That's
exciting.
something I really love about 10K, because a large part of your course is, learning by doing. And that's what it is in real life as well. For instance, I'm not an MBA. I didn't learn management or I didn't learn marketing per se. I learned things by doing it. And I failed a bunch of times. But then every time I failed, I knew that, okay, I'm never going to make that mistake again. Like, don't repeat your mistakes. Just ensure that you get time to reflect on all the things you have done wrong. And then you try and make, do better things. So it's super important to keep doing. It's super important to start. Like if you're not starting and you're thinking, okay, one fine day you're going to take out a perfect product or you're going to do something in a very perfect fashion, that doesn't happen. Like, you just have to start and then you have to keep iterating.
What was the max number, going back to that agencies you met in Ahmedabad? What is the most amount of money you found an agency making?
So somebody was running a 600 people organization making about $12 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's close to 100 CR. And no, it's not about the top line revenue. It's the profit after tax for most of those guys. Like, this particular company was close to 40 CR. Both the founders were taking like 20 crores home. And most of their clients actually are from like the US.
The question becomes is, for a lot of cohort members we have, like, how does one go about getting US clients while in India, right? Like, do you think they have to have a presence in the US or travel to the US?
No, I don't think you have to, like, it's not necessary for you to be there in the US regularly to get US clients. Even though if you're able to do it, visit, let's say, US once a year to meet the clients that you're working with, it's icing on the cake, right? But to get started, first have a great portfolio and, allow yourself to be discovered on portals like Dribble or Behance or, Sneak Peek, maybe.
Thank you.
and like Upwork, like, you need to be discovered. You need to even have like a personal brand. Like, a lot of you, access Instagram, Twitter regularly. Don't you think it makes sense to create content and tell the world how distinct or unique your work is or your voice is? Like, people are paid for their originality. People are paid for, the uniqueness of their thoughts. And if you're not, taking steps to share that with the outer world, yeah, it's not going to work. Like, look, there are two ways to get clients or to get business or to make money. Either you create a pull or you need to push yourself. In the beginning, you need to push yourself out there, right? You need people to discover you. But when the ball starts rolling, the pull kicks in, like the word of mouth kicks in. People start talking about you. I heard about 10K from friends saying that, hey, we hired this guy from 10K, absolutely kick-ass designer. As soon as he came in, our onboarding, significantly improved. So there are a lot of people from your alum who are doing stellar jobs, not only in like large companies, but also in agencies and startups. And founders really recognize if you've proven yourself, like at least in one small company or to your colleagues or to a certain founder, those people are the voices who are going to, be ambassadors of you, of your brand, of who you are. So try to get that rolling in the initial days of your career.
I think the thing you mentioned about content creation, putting yourself out there, you probably might have heard people saying, and I talk to a lot of people, Abhinav, talk to them. You'll probably hear this thing where they'll say, dar lagta hai. Like, putting yourself out there, right, to get the clients, the pull is difficult.
Tell me about it. So I started my content creation journey in June of this year. And before that, I was like, I'm at an important position in a company. It's a public company. If I make a stupid statement, on social media, people are going to come and like brew hate on me, and I wouldn't like that. Neither for me nor for the company or organization that I represent. But then it's going well. Like somehow it worked, and I still get a lot of hate on social media. You're never going to make everyone happy. But then I raced to like 170,000 followers.
Oh my God.
In like 3.5 months. Like, of course, I had to like really sweat it hard and ensure that the right content is going out. But then if you're able to put effort, and it's okay to be shy. At first, you're not going to get it right. When I started shooting these content at one of the studios, the director of photography, he made so much fun of me. He's like, "What, do you speak so well? Otherwise you do these keynote talks. In front of the camera, you're shit." Like, he was as blatant as that. But then the first few times I was probably struggling. But the fourth, fifth time, I was pretty okay.
I love that point about video, right? So, folks, Vargab has this Instagram account called grow.quick. I don't know if you guys caught that. 170,000 in 3 months, right? I just want to emphasize that point for a bit, right? Because the world that we're growing into, it's more than ever, right? Super important to have a voice. And when I say have a voice, we all have unique tastes, unique experiences, unique stories, the projects we do, the people we do them with. And today, having a voice, right? Of course, a portfolio is one of those places. It's like your home on the internet. If somebody says, come home, you send a Google Maps link. If somebody says, I want to work with you, you have one link. It's your name.design, right? That's your home on the internet where you aggregate. But then there is another equally important, in fact, I would say sometimes just as important or more, which is how do you drive traffic to this, right? And so having a voice on these platforms, right? And I love the push and pull analogy, right? Like initially you really got to go out there, but then you got to switch into how do I pull these clients from the impressions I'm getting? Because we know this. To take an example, Janil, if you're going on a date, you are going to look up this person on Instagram before you go on the date. Kind of a funny example, but that's the importance of having a voice. Because even if you're applying through the traditional channels, you're on these platforms like Contra, Upwork, clients want to see what you've done before they talk to you, right? There's this level of pre-selection that happens. Super important, guys. Get comfortable with video, get comfortable putting your work out.
I was laughing because one of my friend is trying to get married and he got rejected because he doesn't have a profile on Insta or Facebook or anything like that.
Oh my God.
The feedback was like, weird banda tha. Kahin pe koi profile, social proof hi nahi hai. If you don't have any social media, no presence, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to do that pull and get new clients. So please, as much as possible, try to put out some content, some of your learnings and stuff. Now, let me ask you, in your content creation journey, the first couple of content you created on Instagram and stuff, was it like viral hit or was it like slowly it took a while to get there?
The first 2 weeks we hardly, were getting followers. It took us 2 weeks to get to 1,000 followers. Now I get close to 1,000 followers a day.
Damn.
But the first 2 weeks I wasn't getting responses. And I was like, am I actually doing it right? But then what's important is you try and be friends with other influencers who can cross promote your content in this social media world, right? If somebody shares your content, and their followers want to become your followers, that's super important. Like, you just have to like kind of steal followers from one channel and get them to yours. And yeah, what you're actually competing for is someone's time, right? So are you worth someone's time? Forget the fact if you're worth someone's money and you're trying to get a client. If you're trying to get someone's time, it's equally difficult. Like, I make short form content of 60 seconds. Even then, it's sometimes very difficult to, crunch everything together, squeeze so much information in 60 seconds, right? Like, for example, some of you may want to start a podcast. Why would someone give like 1 hour of their day listening to your podcast? Initially, what I thought is, let me try and make short form content and get 60 seconds of someone's time. And if I'm able to do well, maybe someday I'll start long form content. So it's somewhat like a funnel. Like, let's see if it works, and then you try and go, you double down on it.
So the funny thing is, I was like that uncle that is never on social media. Before I met Abhinav, I wasn't even on Twitter, right? But Abhinav shared this amazing mindset of content. So Abhinav, do you remember this convo we had? So I was like, why should I create all this content? So much work. Why take all this load and stuff? So Abhinav is like, bro, every single piece of content you create is like a soldier fighting for you, trying to get views for you, trying to get impressions for you, trying to get potential clients, deals for you. And when Abhinav phrased that to me in that way, he was like, bro, imagine this soldier right now that you're putting out, creating all this work for you. Imagine you keep doing it for 5 years. Imagine how many new opportunities you can pull in for you. And I've never seen someone phrase it so eloquently like that.
In fact, Jenny and I, the first year that we worked, we hadn't even met each other. It just started with a cold email. And I was like, yeah, we should do this. We should make this happen. Content that I've put out 5 years ago, I know there's somebody right now, today, who watched that. That's a soldier out there.
I 100% agree. Like I know someone who just, is a digital nomad, keeps working out of Bali and Vietnam and, different parts of Europe, is making shit tons of money, is like a solopreneur, like doesn't even have a company, but then works with clients across the globe. I think that independence, I think whether it's Gen Z or Gen Alpha, they really like this concept of freedom, right? Like this 9 to 6 jobs, I don't think appeal to people anymore. And if what I'm saying resonates with you, then you really need to be on social media, because if something has to resonate with you, right? Like if you're not showing up every day to office and kind of making your presence felt, then it's important that you make your presence felt online. I've seen so many people who are on Twitter, like with 100,000 followers, who are absolute introverts when you meet them in real life. But they've done a great job in terms of getting their thoughts across in like 140 characters. Like,
Here's the thing, a good idea with a bad story is a bad idea because nobody pays attention, right? Time has to be earned, attention has to be earned. Spend a disproportionate amount of time on your story. This story has to tie it all together, right? So focus on your story, focus on your storytelling. Vargab, as someone who's been doing video content, any tips for somebody who's going to be doing it maybe for the first time or like wants to make that happen tonight? What would you say?
just before I get to that, I just thought I'll share a story which I think will motivate people a little more.
Yeah.
You're talking about soldiers, of like content acting like soldiers. I put out a piece of content one day and Tanmay Bhatt reached out to me out of the blue. And he DM'd me on Twitter. To me, Tanmay Bhatt is probably one of the biggest YouTubers in the country, and I think he's a ad genius, really smart man. And I didn't expect it at all. Like he suddenly just followed me and then he wrote to me saying, hey, I really like your story and I want to talk. What's your phone number? And I gave my phone number, and then he called like in a matter of like 1-2 minutes.
Wow.
And I wasn't still sure if it is Tanmay Bhatt. And I was like, are you really Tanmay Bhatt? He like, yeah, man. And then he said fuck like 10 times. I'm like, yeah, you're Tanmay Bhatt. And yeah, so yeah, coming back to like, finding confidence in creating content, just start, man. It's totally okay for you to like not get it right the first time. But if you do something like 10 times, you will be good at it. So don't always think that I want to get the perfect thing out. The most important part is that you do it. And when you do it, you're learning. And you're doing it the second time, you're learning a little more. So you really need to emphasize on, doing things and learning. And that's again, like something that I really like about 10K designers. So the more you do things, the more better you will get. And like when you're making a video, I think it's also like try and stick to what's the problem statement, what's your solution, why is it unique. If you are pitching to an investor, like why you? What is your unfair advantage? What do you have that 10 others don't? I think those little things really make a difference.
On that note, let's increase the surface area of people finding your stuff. And thank you, Vargab.
Thank you, Abhinav.